Are you certain that what most people agree on is actually true? Is something true simply because many believe it to be so? What if the light you have suddenly comes from a different angle? Would you still see the same? What if everything we think we know, everything we've taken for granted, everything generations have formed opinions about, begins with something far simpler than we ever imagined? What if the creation story isn't complicated at all, but quietly misunderstood? What if the entire creation story rests on a single word? Not a big word, not a dramatic word, just a small one that most of us never really noticed or see. What if the problem isn't the text itself? What if it's the way we've learned to read it? Or perhaps even worse, what if it's simply a translation choice? One that has followed translators for thousands of years. Across all of history, the creation account has sparked engagement, debate, and strong divisions. For many, the conclusion is settled, accepted, final. Dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. Humans came much later. It's tidy, logical, and scientifically well documented. Therefore, the creation account must be wrong. Period. But is it really the end of the sentence? But the creation story, as we tell it today, and as it has been told for generations, is based on a traditional translation of Genesis 1:2, and the earth was formless and void. But in the original language, those words may mean something else. Grammatically, this does not only mean was, it can also mean had become. Let that sink in. What if the sentence actually means the earth had become formless and void? Would that make a difference? What if the earth had a history before humanity arrived? And what if that history is already there, in the original text? What if? Would the hard debates, the sharp divisions, and the quick conclusions look different in a new light? What if there actually had been a catastrophe on the earth, so that the earth had become formless and empty? What if? In biblical Hebrew, the expression that is used can mean was became or had become, as the result of a prior event. This is not speculation. It is normal Hebrew usage, especially when the sentence describes a condition, and no act of creation is described in the same verse. What if this had become is not describing a new creation, but the creation of something that had become destroyed, ruined, uninhabitable, laid waste? What if? Could this change the way you see the Bible? The creation. And the possibility that small details, perhaps misunderstood, can have enormous consequences for what we believe and for what we take for granted.